It was frog dissecting day. How wonderful. I hate reptiles. Always have. Living. Dead makes no difference. They give me the creeps. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Frogs aren't reptiles. They're amphibians. Same difference. Hideous creatures. Green and slimy. And gross. I'd never touched one before, let alone dissect one, and I hope to keep it that way. That chance. The classroom smelled like roadkill. In fact, the pungent stench permeated throughout the entire east wing of school. Students covered their mouths, gasping for air, trying to avoid the toxic taste of dead frogs. I don't know why I brought lunch that day. Food was the farthest thing from my mind. To be fair, I wasn't the only cowardly kid. Amanda, the girl sitting next to me, was also turning green. For a moment, I thought she wouldn't make it. Yet, she maintained her composure as she sliced open the frog, making horizontal cuts near its arms and legs, and removed its liver. She gagged and her legs went wobbly, but her hands were steady. Soon it was over, and she rushed to the washroom, hand over mouth, ignoring the snickers coming from kids in the classroom. Leaving class would be the single best decision of her life. My embarrassment grew. If she can do it, I can too. I told myself this, but I didn't believe it. I didn't have the guts. The other students were good to go. They joked as they dissected their ill-fated amphibians, trying to outdo one another. Billy, the class bully and all-around nuisance, wore his frog as a hat, letting the gooey slime slither down his face. He licked up the frog juice, and once he held the classroom's attention, started speaking in French, talking like a poet. Yeah, Billy's a jerk. I stood over the lizardly carcass, trying not to puke. It looked like a giant avocado, with scaly skin, lumpy legs, and beady eyes daring me to go through with it. The putrid stench lodged itself in my throat so that every breath was like inhaling sewer gas. It was inescapable. Unfortunately, this wasn't my main concern. My frog looked different from the others. Not only did it stink, but something within its abdomen was stirring. If I weren't so goddamn scared and ashamed, I might have spoken up. Just nerves, I told myself. I'm squeamish, and that's putting it mildly. My mind went sideways. What's the point? How will dissecting this helpless amphibian benefit my future self? Quick answer, it won't. My mind was made. There's no chance in hell I was gonna dissect that frog. No way, it's dead, my rational self replied. It won't feel a thing. The teacher told me to hurry up. The rest of the class was waiting. The minutes felt like hours. Scissors in hand, I gazed solemnly at the dead frog. My hands were shaky. Tears filled the corners of my eyes. All I had to do was tear it open and remove its guts. Then this nightmare will be over. This was proving more difficult than expected. Then I noticed something dreadful. The entire class was giggling, mocking me with their hateful eyes. Billy was making jokes at my expense, to everyone's delight. Even the teacher seemed annoyed. I could see it in her eyes. Oh look, the weird kid's acting weird again. The other frogs lay in pans, gutted and gazed upon. I was the only one left, the scaredy cat. Ugh, could my life be any more miserable? I should never have taken this class, I told myself, shaking in my shoes. I belong in drama class, not this. Last year, I got lucky. We were dissecting worms, long and squiggly things, purple and pus-filled. My science partner did the cutting, while I pretended to watch. Oh, what a relief that was. I prayed that it would happen again this year. It didn't. The frog was staring up at me, dead and bloated. What caught my attention, more like made my skin crawl, was how much it had grown. By now, it looked like an overstuffed burrito. It could barely fit inside the pan. Not only that, it was pulsating. Dead things don't move, do they? Unbeknownst to me, something horrific was about to be birthed. With the weight of the world resting on my shoulders and the entire class waiting, I soldiered on. Okay, I said aloud, not caring that they could hear me. Let's get this over with. The steely utensils glistened under the fluorescent lights. My heart was in my mouth. My legs could barely hold the weight of my body. I wiped the stream of snot sliding down my face with my sleeve. Then with trembling hands, I gripped the cold dissecting scissors and jammed them into the frog. It exploded. Guts and gore erupted from the amphibian, covering me head to toe. Chunks of fatty flesh slithered down my side, warm and wet and gross. Apparently, a giant can of beefaroni just erupted from Mount Boyardee. My heart stopped. I was draped in thick green goop. Some of it slid into my mouth, squishy like toothpaste. Panting, I forced my fingers inside my mouth and pulled out an eyeball. It blinked. The classroom shrieked. The teacher tried restoring order, but it was no use. Mayhem ensued. To everyone's horror, the mound of mucus was moving, slithering along the vinyl floor, collecting shape, until it formed a giant blob. Its head was huge, with narrow eyes and cauliflower ears, its rounded body a mass of sickly skin, swooshing and groaning as it expanded, until it was the size of a small person. It roared its disapproval, a guttural sound that sent shock waves throughout the classroom, causing kids to panic. The teacher shuffled through her desk, cursing in quiet despair. As her disobeying hands let her phone slip through her fingers, she tripped and fell backwards, straight into the jaws of the hideous green blob. It devoured her. Legs as long as Texas disappeared inside the belly of the beast, clicking red heels and all. Her bones broke, her blood splashed across the chalkboard. The blob consumed our science teacher. Nobody moved. Tasha, a straight-A student whom everyone adored, was its next victim. With T-Rex arms, it shoved her into its ginormous mouth. She shrieked. The blob's wart-infested tongue expanded, exposing a tray of coffee-colored teeth, sharp as razor blades. Fresh blood dripped from its licorice lips, while it swallowed her whole. Billy was the first to react. Camera in hand, he stood on his desk and told the creature to screw off. With death-defying speed, the blob pounced. Billy flew from the desk, smashing his head on the floor. His bones snapped like twigs as the thing steamrolled over him. Grumpy as a German tank, Billy fought like hell. I gotta hand it to him. He kicked and clawed and scraped and swore, but it was no use. The creature easily overpowered him. Billy was torn to shreds, stuffed inside its moist mouth, then swallowed. The blob belched. I wasn't the only one who pissed myself. To be fair, it's not every day a creature emerges from a dead frog's belly and eats a classroom full of kids. Nobody knew what to do. I cursed my stupidity. This was all my fault. This would not have happened if I hadn't dissected the damned frog. What kind of frog was it anyway? Normal frogs don't birth killer green blobs, do they? With Billy gone, the beastly blob devoured 3 more classmates in the span of seconds. Its elongated mouth snapped like a crocodile, ripping the kids apart, feasting on flesh and bone. I know the thing was as big as Godzilla. Then it stopped. A rumbling noise gurgled deep within its bowels. Its eyes went wild. Its belly ballooned in size. The entire class stood petrified, watching as it gave birth to more blobs. Gigantic lumps of goo evacuated from its mouth and nether region as the hideous monster procreated. The smell was unforgivable. Suddenly, there were 6 of them, and they were hungry. Classmates fainted or went into shock. The brave kids made a mad dash to the door. A lucky pair of girls managed to escape, but the others perished. The slithering slabs sneered as they feasted upon arms and legs and blood and brains until nothing was left of the people who escaped, not even their backpacks. The school bell rang. Everyone gulped. 12 of us remained. Nobody knew what to do. It was up to me. I had to do something. Those insidious creatures came from my frog. Without hesitation, I picked the scalpel off the floor, gripping it tightly in my trembling hand. Then I edged along the wall, creeping toward the window. Meanwhile, the band of blobs went on a feeding frenzy. One by one, the unholy creatures gobbled up my classmates, drinking their tears. They killed at an ungodly speed. I watched in horror as Tessa, who I'd known since the 2nd grade, was bludgeoned to death, swallowed by a baby blob. All that remained was a strand of golden hair, as long as an eagle's feather. Suddenly, I was the last kid standing. All my classmates were dead. The creatures turned and snarled, drool dripping from their fleshy faces, while my life flashed before my eyes. So, this is how it all ends. What luck. Something told me this wouldn't be a peaceful passing, surrounded by loved ones, reminiscing of the good old days. Nope, I was about to be inhaled by unhallowed beings, spurting saliva like spilled champagne at New Year's Eve. To my dismay, the blobs started making those god-awful sounds again. Their slimy skin jiggled as they moaned. Right before my very eyes, yet another army of blobs was being birthed. The floors were soaked in bile. Most of the desks were overturned, and blood and guts were everywhere. With my back against the wall, I closed my eyes and prayed, something I'd never done before. Please don't let me die this way. I'll do anything. This sucks. I'm too young to die. Surely this can't be happening. Crash, a gust of wind whisked across my face. The air tasted weird. My eyes snapped open. The back window was smashed. A firefighter with hockey player gloves reached in and grabbed hold of me. "Come quick," the firefighter ordered. Next thing I know, I'm being dragged through the window, slicing my head and shoulders. Meanwhile, the blobs continued to multiply. It sounded like a party of the worst kind. Once outside, I fell to my knees and wept. Who knew the air could taste so sweet? I was rushed to the hospital. That's when things got even weirder. You see, this wasn't a normal hospital, not even close. This was a government quarantine facility. It was colorless and cold. Days were blurred as doctors in astronaut suits administered a series of tests, each worse than the last. I was strapped to a bed, drained of my blood, fed through tubes, and poked and prodded in places I'd rather not confess. Secretly, I wished the blobs had eaten me. Anything to rid myself of these awful experiments. Oh, sweet irony. Now I was the test frog. Like cooked meat, I was stuffed into machines that felt like ovens and given drugs that induced hallucinations beyond my most terrifying nightmares. At some point, I gave up all hope of ever returning to the real world. But alas, I was released. Although my time at the facility remains a blur, I do remember the cops. Their questions came like rapid fire, wanting to know everything that happened that fateful day. Apparently, the cameras inside the classroom were destroyed, and the girls that got away were too traumatized to testify. I told the cops everything. They didn't believe a word. They think I killed my classmates. Worse, they claimed to have found my manifesto. Yeah, right. If that was the case, where are the bodies? Did I eat them? The cops need a scapegoat, and apparently I'm it. The press had a field day. Fortunately, I'm still a minor. My fearless parents came to my rescue and continue to fight on my behalf. At least they believe me. Good grief, something's going on here, but I don't know what it is. Nor do I care. I want to put this behind me and start living my life again. Maybe one day I'll write a book. Yeah, that would be sick. Alien blob creatures that invade a classroom and eat all the kids. Whatever became of the blobs, I don't know. There's only one thing I'm certain of, and no one from this planet or any other world can change my mind. There's no way I'll ever dissect a frog again.